What's going on, everybody? Tello Talk Podcast back again with another episode. Yesterday, I just did my NFL episode, and today is Friday, which means college football conference championship weekend is here. And we've got two conference championships today. We've got UTSA hosting Northern Texas, and the big one, number 11 Utah and number 4 USC. Probably one of the most impactful ones for this weekend will be that USC one, alongside another one we will talk about later. But we're going to hop right into it with Friday matchups. We've got 3 games. One of them is a non conference championship game, which is Akron versus Buffalo. And I will say we don't really need to talk about those games, but if you want to tune in if you're one of those fans. I will get going with the first game, not talk about it so much. It is the Conference USA Conference Championship. North Texas is going to be going to UTSA. And I have a little bit of notes on them. It's just UTSA has only 2 losses this year, and their losses aren't to very bad teams. If you look at it, there is a loss to, I believe it was Texas, and I can't think of the other team, but they 2 pretty decent losses. They will be possibly the 3rd team in Conference USA history to have a 9-0 conference record, and that is huge for maybe not everybody, but it's huge. And the other team they lost to was Houston. If you guys did not already know, but they are the only one of the 3 teams playing to defend their conference titles, which is alongside the Michigan and Utah. And I think UTSA will come out with the win, despite North Texas. Their last 2 games against UTSA was a blowout win and a barely loss. I do think UTSA at 9-2, I think 10-2, will end up winning this game and winning this Conference USA. But enough about the Conference USA. We'll talk about the big one for the Pac-12, which is number 11 Utah and number 4 USC. This will be played at the Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas, home of the Raiders. But for this game, this is a big one. It has a lot of meaning behind it. This is make or break for USC, and basically we'll see how it goes for them. My thing is they're ranked at 4 right now. If they win this game, they are in the college football playoff 100% because they're 4 right now. How are they going to win a conference championship and then not be at least number 4? But with a loss, their chances are very slim to 0. They're not going to put in an 11-2 team who's lost to the same team twice over an 11-1 Ohio State or even a 10-2 Alabama, a 10-2 Tennessee. I'm not putting a USC team that's lost to the same team twice. But as for Utah, their result doesn't mean as much. They win, they make the Rose Bowl for the 2nd straight year in a row. If they lose, I don't know if they actually will make the Rose Bowl. I think it might be Washington that makes the Rose Bowl if Utah is to lose. But they will most likely get the Rose Bowl clinch, win or loss. It's just this game is up to USC. If they win or not, they need to make the playoff. And for me, it might sound a little crazy, but my prediction, I'm going to pick Utah to win this game. And the reason I'm going to pick Utah is, Utah beat them last time when USC kind of decided that they needed to go for 2 and they didn't get it. I think Utah will come out and beat them a little better. We saw it last year with Oregon. They beat Oregon twice in the year. And I think that's what's going to happen again. And I'm going to have Utah winning this game and them going to the Rose Bowl and SC playing in a different bowl game. And that's what I'm thinking on the Pac-12. As for the next one I've got coming up, this is a big one for not only me, because I am a big fan of this school, but for the school in general. Number 10 Kansas State plays number 3 TCU on Saturday for the Big 12 championship. And this is an interesting one. Kansas State's number 10 in the nation in the college football playoff rankings. TCU's number 3. As I just said, they're both the top 10 matchup. Kansas State is 6-3 in the conference. TCU is 9-0. TCU has a chance to be 10-0 in the Big 12 with this win, and we have not seen this in such a long time. Here's the thing for TCU is a lot of people think they've got their spot locked up. They don't have their spot locked up at all. In my opinion, despite being 12-0 and number 3, if you lose this game by a lot, you're in trouble. But if you lose this game by close, a number 8, number 7 Kansas State would probably be the next week. Your resume is that you beat them earlier in the year, and that could still get you in the playoff. I think for TCU, they need to win this game. No matter what, they need to win this game if they want to make the playoffs guaranteed, because they are one of the 3 undefeated teams in the FBS. And even with teams like Ohio State, Alabama, Tennessee, you just can't be like loose about it, and you can't be like, kind of go with the flow about this game. Oh, this game doesn't matter, because it does. It's a big thing. It's your conference championship. You want to go into the playoffs saying you're a conference champion, and even if, who knows? Imagine if Michigan and Georgia lose, TCU could be the number 1 seed, and I'm not saying they're going to lose, because we'll find out later what I think about them, but there is a possibility that they could fall to 5 depending on how bad they play, but as a TCU fan, I don't see it happening. I don't want it to happen, and I don't see it happening as a college football person. This could be their first undefeated season since the 2010 year, the Rose Bowl. And Kansas State, this game really doesn't mean that much to them. Their destination, no matter what the outcome for this game is going to the Sugar Bowl. Regardless of what happens here, if Kansas State wins, TCU has to play in the Cotton Bowl if they don't make the playoff, which would be a little embarrassing as a 12-1 team playing either Tulane or UCF in a bowl game and not making the playoffs. So as I've said, it needs to be a win. This isn't not a team who has a locked up spot. And if TCU wants to lock up their spot, they're going to have to go out there on Saturday morning, Saturday afternoon, and beat Kansas State and go 13-0. And with that, I'm going to have TCU beating Kansas State in this game, and TCU being the Big 12 champions and being the top 3 for the playoff. Moving on to the next one is the MAC championship, Toledo versus Ohio. And here's the thing. Toledo won the MAC in 2017. Ohio has not won the MAC since 1968. And they've been in 4 games since then. They are 0-4. They've got the same conference record. To be honest, I don't think I'm going to be looking into this game that much. But Toledo's prestigious victories. They have 11 MAC championships under their current head coach. It's just, I don't see them doing anything. I mean, Ohio's just not good. They have not won since the 60s, and Ohio might be good this year, but I'm going to have to pick Toledo to win this conference championship. I just see it happening over Ohio. I think Toledo will come out with the win. Next one is Coastal Carolina and Troy for the Sun Belt. Now, I'm personally going to pick Coastal Carolina. I think Coastal Carolina last year was very good. This year they've been even better. They've won 31 games in their last 3 years and they've joined the FBS since 2017. Grayson McCall, I remember watching him for a little bit. I haven't really focused on them this year, but Grayson McCall, from what I've seen, has been pretty well, done pretty well. He's battling some injury right now, I believe, but Troy is favored in this game, and I feel like you see a lot of Troy. You see Troy get in these games a lot, and they won 9 straight games going into this. Their last loss was against App State on that Hail Mary after App State beat North Carolina and then A&M, or almost beat North Carolina and then beat A&M. However, something I will say for Coastal is a little shaky is they just got blown out by James Madison, the new team to FBS. They would have been in the title game, but they are not eligible yet because of this. But because of that, I think Coastal Carolina deserves the spot a little bit, but doesn't. But I still have Troy winning this game, and I will have them winning the maybe even beating the spread, which is 8.5. And I'll move on to the next. We've got the SEC matchup. This is a big anticipated matchup every year. This year it looks a little different. We've got LSU in here. We haven't seen LSU in it since 2019 when they won it against Florida, I believe. But I mean, we all kind of know Georgia's number one in the nation. They're heavily favored to win this game. The spread is actually 17.5. Going into last week, I thought LSU had playoff hopes, and then they lost to Texas A&M, and now they're 14th in the nation. They've got no hopes. They're 9-3. LSU, this game is meaningless too. They could be the first team to beat Georgia, but regardless of beating Georgia, Georgia's making the playoffs and LSU's not. They're not going to put a three-loss SEC champion into the playoff over a two-loss Alabama or a two-loss Tennessee because those two teams have both beaten. Tennessee has beaten LSU, but Alabama has not. But the thing is there's like there's a whole thing with it is a three-loss conference championship team is meaningless. A 10-3 champion wouldn't mean anything. So this is all up to no. It doesn't really matter what happens, but Georgia will win this game, and they will win it dominantly. And Georgia will go into the playoff as the number one seed. I mean, they've got an incredible defense, incredible defense. And I mean, Jaden Daniels just went down with an injury. Moving on, this one's a little bit of an important one. It's UCF at Tulane. This could be a big one where they faced 3 weeks ago, and actually is Tulane's only conference loss is to UCF, 38-31. But they are still favored. Tulane is. The winner of this goes to the Cotton Bowl, as I said. But this game will be a good one for the group of five berth in the New Year's Six. And I see the whole UCF not beating them last time. I don't see that happening again. I think Tulane, the Green Wave, will beat them and probably most likely play in the Cotton Bowl. I actually want to track back to the Pac-12 and the Big 12 ones and talk about some key players to look at. Obviously, Caleb Williams and Jordan Addison. We'll see how Cameron Rising does for Utah. But I think it's going to come down to Utah's defense. That's going to win them the game. And then for the Big 12, obviously you got to look at Max Duggan. You got to look at Deuce for Kansas State. Quentin Johnson for TCU. Kendre Miller. It's just there's a lot of weapons on TCU, but there's also a lot of weapons on Kansas State. It's going to come down to defense as well, in my opinion, which happened in last year's Big 12 championship game when Baylor got the 4th and goal stop at the 1-yard line to win it. And I think that it will come down to a very close defensive battle. It will be an offensive game most of the game, but defense will win the game. And I'll say that TCU will pull out a victory in the Big 12 championship, but it will be a very close game. And we'll move back up onto the Fresno State Boise State Mountain West Championship. This might be a big one as Boise State's at 9-3. Fresno State, I think, 7-5. Fresno State's got a bad conference record, and Boise State, I mean, they just beat Utah State. They're back in the championship game. They weren't in it last year. They had a little bit of a down year last year, but this is their 5th time in 6 seasons being in the Mountain West Conference championship title, and Boise State's not going to lose this to Fresno State. I mean, 90% of the time Boise State makes the Mountain West Conference Championship, they're going to win it. And here's the problem with it, is Boise State, they think they're really good. Oh, we should get ranked. You're 9-3. Yeah, I get it. You should maybe be ranked. You're 9-3. Yeah. But you play in the Mountain West. The best team you play is 7-5. If you want to be ranked, join a better conference. You should have joined the Pac-12. You should join the Big 12. You should join a conference that has solid teams and teams that you can solidify, have solidified wins against. Taylor Green too. The freshman Taylor Green is a threat. And I mean, but he's going against defenses that are terrible, like 2-10 New Mexico, um, 2-10 Colorado State. You're going against those type of teams, and that's not going to do anything for you. Um, Taylor Green's led the Broncos to 8-0 in the Mountain West. I mean, they're undefeated in the Mountain West, but this always happens every year. But however, I will say their quarterback Jake Haener, when they played Fresno State earlier in the year, Fresno State's quarterback Jake Haener was hurt. And he is the big main leader for Fresno State's offense. He was the one who led, I believe, the upset victory against UCLA last year. And I still think Boise State comes out with the win on this game. I think that Boise State, however, does need to join a new conference. Their conference is quite the cakewalk. But that's what I've got to say about Boise State, Fresno State. And then I've got two more get left, the two last ones. Once again, I know this is kind of a smaller podcast. I just wanted to get this out, get my points out. Purdue and Michigan, number two, Michigan. This is another case of win or lose. This team's in the playoff. And Purdue in their first ever conference championship, big for them. However, I don't see them doing anything. Blake Corum, however, is out for the rest of the year. He's planning on having surgery, so hopefully he'll do good. Donovan Edwards, however, had a incredible game against Ohio State, so they don't have to worry about that too much. And JJ McCarthy as well. JJ McCarthy had a big moment in that game. He had a lot of great plays, 3 touchdowns. I think he might have ran for one too. And Michigan just dominated Ohio State, and I think if they can dominate Ohio State like they did in the Horseshoe in Columbus, they'll easily beat Purdue in Indianapolis at Lucas Oil. And another point is with that is their defense looks great too. But it just they ran for 252 yards in 3 touchdowns. And I mean, as I said again, Blake Corum only ran the ball twice that game, and they're playing Purdue. And also, Idaho native Colston Loveland getting himself his first career touchdown in college. Props to him. I mean, he was a great player. Never got to see him play tackle football in high school, as I didn't go to a high school near him. But he's a great player. Michigan's lucky to have him, and Michigan's going to come out with a Big Ten championship and be the number 2 seed in the nation going into the playoffs. And last but not least, we will go with the last one, which is the ACC. Number 9, Clemson will play number 23, North Carolina. And here's my big thing on it is Clemson seems to end up winning the ACC every year. And usually this game is more relevant. It's been more relevant in the past couple of years, not last year, however. But it is dropped. The relevance for this game dropped because both teams lost last week and both teams were 8-0 in the conference. And the thing is for North Carolina is their season going to go from 9-1, a 9-1 season, and drop all the way to 9-4, or are they going to win this game and be a 10-win team and make Clemson a 3-loss team? Because if Clemson loses this is their second straight year going 10-3, and that's when you have to look at, okay, well, what happened? I mean, DJ, I can't pronounce his last name, so I'm not going to try. Went 8 for 29 for 99 yards against South Carolina. And North Carolina is a lot better than South Carolina, if you ask me, even though South Carolina has a higher. I think they might be ranked higher. Neither of these teams are in the playoff race, but I think my thing is Drake May will have the capability to torch, and I mean absolutely torch Clemson. Absolutely torch Clemson. But the problem is that their chance to make the playoff was ruined, and it ruined Drake May's Heisman campaign. However, he's got a lot. He's got next year to go for. He's got 35 touchdowns, only 5 interceptions, and almost 4,000 yards, and that's been their strength. However, for Clemson, it is not. His improvement, DJ did, but this is the thing: is Clemson. Sorry, they did not make the game last year. I don't know why I said they did, but North Carolina has not won the ACC since 1980, and they made the title game in 2015, and they ended up losing. That was Clemson's first year of their 6 straight years making the title game, and A lot of people think Clemson will win this game, uh, and I'm going to be one of them. North Carolina, they're good. I don't have them beating Clemson. They're not going to beat Clemson, and Clemson will go to the Orange Bowl, I believe. Yes, the Orange. I believe it is the Orange Bowl. Yeah, and that's enough. That's what I got to say about that game, and that's really all the games this week. Yeah, this is just a short podcast, about 20-ish minutes, but it's just to kind of get out my picks and let everybody know, hey, this is what I think. This is what Tello thinks. Tello Talk thinks, and but I hope we have a great set of games on Friday and Saturday. I'm hoping for TCU to pull one out on Saturday, and I'll be back for college football rankings coming into the final college football rankings and seeing who makes the playoff. That is all from me today. Hope y'all have a great day, morning, evening, and Teletalk is out. See you.